Today, as a bank, we are doing is to really listen to the SMEs, right? Exactly, the area that they need help. So we have what we call, for example, a BizSmart. This BizSmart is a curated solution whereby we put together digital tools, cover across major tools that SME would need. For example, accounting, payroll, even cybersecurity. So people that come to our bank looking for financial product and services will be exposed. We will introduce to them some of the digital tools to help them manage their business more efficiently.
For SME, very often you need to continue to reinvent the business. We need to change according to the consumer behavior, know what's the demand, and then in some cases now you can influence the consumer behavior because of social media.
Welcome back to TFC Business Show. I'm your host, Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut, and today we are in the studio of Powerhouses on our yearly segment with UOB, our Business Outlook Study discussion, right? So for our audience that don't know you, let's lay the ground first, right? Who are you and what makes you, have the basis to come on this discussion? Our yearly talk, right? So maybe Desmond, for a start, introduce yourself for our audience.
Hi, my name is Desmond Goh. I am in charge of the Nets business. Nets business is 40 years this year, right? I take care of the motoring card, the merchant acquiring business, as well as the local debit scheme.
Okay, so what does that mean as taking care of the business?
Yeah, I mean in business parlance, is I take care of the entire P&L.
Yeah, you're the KPI guy. You gotta make sure the business work.
Of course, making sure our customers are happy.
Of course. It's part of the situation, right? Like in a payment ecosystem as a service, that you build upon other businesses. I think only when your customers do well, you do well.
That's right.
So there's a symbiotic energy, lah. So later you will share with us more insights, right?
Of course.
Right. On top of the Business Outlook Study, and together in studio, we have Paul and Joseph. For our audience that don't know you, can you introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm Joseph So from expressflower.com. Express Flower actually started back in 2004, and by now actually we are running 18 retail outlets with 2 Garden Team cafes.
18 retail outlets. Yes. So many people want flowers all the time. Genuine question. I want to understand this business because from my understanding of the flower business, the supply chain is very complicated, right? So how does this 18 outlet work? Do you think you've optimized and all that?
I always use the Singapore government as a guide. Where there's a town, there'll be a center. Where there's a center, that's where people congregate. So usually we want to be there.
Okay. So that is the strategy. Okay, cool. Later we'll discuss more. He has a lot of interesting insights on data and how to expand the business and all that, right? I think data, time before it was called data, you already had some thoughts. So we'll go there later, right? And Paul, for our audience that don't know you, can you just do an introduction?
Okay, thanks, Reggie. My name is Paul. I am the country head of business banking for UOB.
So that means you carry the KPI.
No, I'm also another KPI guy, yes. But we offer banking products and services to SMEs in Singapore. In my daily job, I get to meet a lot of SME owners, right? Especially the startups and young businesses. I have a few SME stories to share. I think that's why I'm here today.
That's why you're here. Right. We will talk more about it, right? And maybe as part of this backdrop of the Business Outlook Study, I think if you've heard last year, as a continuum, I think it's always trying to get a sense of how businesses are doing, what are businesses strategizing, what are some things that more people are exploring, and what are some of the pain points and the problems, right? That's a fair statement, right? To the study.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So maybe for a start, right, just to lay, the ground, what is the sentiment that you are seeing, amongst the business owners, since day in, day out, you're interacting with so many of them. What is their outlook? What is the situation?
I guess across many industries, not specific to retail, right? And common theme includes rising costs, manpower, and sometimes even you have the manpower, you worry about the talent, the quality, the productivity. Today's context is challenging, right? No thanks to the ever-changing landscape. Singapore is not spared, even though we have probably one of the lowest tariff being imposed. I would say today, companies need to be very nimble. According to the survey, one of the very standout statistics is that not only people need to contain costs, but people need to start thinking about how to raise productivity. More than a third of the respondents indicating that they wanted to spend more resources or investments into things like technology, things like digitalization, AI included.
But that is quite a given right, these days. I mean, I would say it's a given. If you're not doing it, actually, I'm more concerned about the 60% that are not looking at investing more in tech and staying relevant and productivity gains. I think that's par for the course of running a business lah. And I don't know if it's a fair statement.
Exactly,
Yeah.
fair statement.
Yeah, and every year, always tell me, inputs getting more expensive. It's a yearly affair. Every year business getting harder. Like what's your read then? Maybe Joseph, give us a bit of idea.
I think everybody know. I mean, today we are literally the most expensive city in the world. So I think for us actually, I think what's important to us is, in fact, we are sandwiched. At one end, we have a lot of competition coming in, okay, because we are in flowers. So we used to import flower from China. Now we have a situation whereby the Chinese are here to import flowers from their own comrades. So the competition actually is very keen. Then, of course, there's the online. And for us, we started out retail, and I would like to think, and I have to think, that retail today is still relevant, and is very much so. For us, as far as cost is concerned, we try to mitigate that by, right now we actually have an office over in the Philippines since before the pandemic, back in 2016. So anything that can be done there is basically at a fraction of a cost. So it's one area that we are, I think, going in quite aggressively. But interestingly, over the last few years, in fact, the whole irony is that it was during the pandemic that we took off. We did better there. Until today, the growth there is actually better than here in Singapore. Yeah, so we actually set up two companies there. One basically is online business over there, and the other is basically our call center for Singapore. Because we operate 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to 12 midnight. You can't get it done here. Can't even find the people to do it.
It's very hard. Even Malaysia is out of the game, when it comes to service centers and all that. Yeah. Okay. So that means business is doing well for you guys specifically.
I would say this is most challenging. You might be joking every time you ask.
Every time I hear, every year is a challenging year,
Yes. But this time around, really challenging.
Tell us more. Tell us more.
I think we're just we're in the situation because Singapore is already very much a developed country. Okay, so you have this situation whereby you need the talent, you need the manpower, but at the same time, you just don't understand why it's so difficult to get the people in place. Especially, I think in our trade, because I happen to be in both retail and F&B. I literally use the word brutal, very brutal, because it's just very difficult to find local willing to come into these two industries.
Yeah. I think that's a very fair statement. Yeah.
No, I think from our observation as well and interaction with merchants, we also do see the common complaints, right, of rising costs and the manpower crunch. So interestingly, over the past few years, we also saw an increase in number of acceptance of digital payments by our merchants, as well as transactions has been growing double-digit every year. And what we understand from our merchants is that they use digital payments to actually make it more efficient from their workflow perspective. And we do offer a plethora or suite of solutions to help different segments of merchants, right? So just by, for example, you go to the hawker store, I think COVID actually sped the adoption of our digital payments. And I think a lot of merchants sort of saw the efficiency gain because now I can fry more char kway teow and still make sure my payments are collected as opposed to collecting cash and giving change. Right? Maybe from the payments dimension, I think for Nets, we make it our mission to ensure that merchants can accept many forms of payments, right? From credit cards to even cross-border QR, right? And over the past few years, we are working closely with our partners in Malaysia, India, Indonesia, and Thailand. For their tourists, when they come to Singapore, when they scan a QR code, payment gets through. So it's actually bringing more business to our SMEs.
Yeah, I know. Lawrence came on the show. Your CEO came on the show not too long ago and talked about this. Said that actually after Nets integrated this process, local merchants are seeing increased transaction volume from the regional tourists. It's actually all just about reducing friction.
Correct.
So that we get more activity going. Yeah. So all this is good efforts on the platform, on the bank front, but I would love to hear more from you, like when you enter the Philippines, how was it like? What was the experience? Just to give us entrepreneurs some color.
I went to the Philippines. In fact, I started going to the Philippines as far back as more than 20 years for sourcing. And but back in 2016 when I started is partly because our middle level managers, quite a few are Filipinos. So it's I actually had the kind of situation whereby, to be frank, okay, this one maybe a little bit digress, in the sense that if you can imagine you having to work overseas, you are married, and your wife is back there. You see her once a year, once in 2 years. It was that kind of situation where that sort of like, why not if I let them go back? And then since I let them go back, what if I start something there? So I sort of drifted into it along that line because it's sometimes painful to see family breaking up. So actually, like right now, the over there I have 2 companies. Okay, one is the GM there that run the local business used to be here with me for 8 years before. Now at least she's back to her own family, and our customer service manager for the Singapore market is actually now 3 kids. That would not happen if we have not taken that step.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of the smaller businesses. A lot of times it's not that you don't make business decision based on like data, but there's a lot of this kind of kamting element to it, right? Where as a business grow, you treat everybody like a family, and then you try to see how you can kind of mold the business and it lends into certain opportunities, right? So I think there's some element to that lah. Yeah, but is there a little bit of a thought process around organic expansion and like inorganic, kind of acquisition? Yeah, just so I get some thoughts from you guys.
In the earliest, we actually have a project with the Polytechnic. So the student pretend to help Express Block expand overseas. So they actually did a project on several countries. Okay, in fact, at that point in time, the highest growth was China. But my also visiting China yearly for purchasing, I cannot imagine myself. I think, and then partly because Philippines it was actually number 2 at that point in time, and it's English speaking, you see. So it's anytime a much easier decision for me to go into the Philippines first.
Today, what as a bank we are doing is to really listen to the SMEs, right? Exactly, the area that they need help. So more than often we hear things like they need help in beyond the banking matters. So Singapore being our home market, we have quite a sizable portfolio of SMEs, and we really wanted to help them to so-called leverage on some of the partners in the SME ecosystems. So one of the areas to assist SME, for example, is to put together some of the partners that we think the tools that they have can benefit the SME in the ecosystem. So we have what we call, for example, a BizSmart. So this BizSmart is a curated solution whereby we put together digital tools, cover across major tools that SME would need For example, accounting, payroll, even cybersecurity. So people that come to our bank looking for financial product and services will be exposed. Then we will introduce to them some of the digital tools to help them manage their business more efficiently, right? So I guess this is one of the way that as a bank, we play our part in supporting SME to grow regionally.
I think Joseph shared a little bit about his experience growing into Philippines, a different market. And I think a lot of Singaporean businesses also want to expand into the region. Like what he said, bo pian, right? Yeah. The market is too small. You want to grow and stay relevant, you have to go regional, right? So any insights or thoughts around this?
In our bank, we have a vision to be the one bank for ASEAN. We want to be the bank for SME when they will leave the Singapore shore, the comfort zone, and then go overseas region, especially in the ASEAN region. In a study, if you read, I would like to say that today we are here to support really a lot of SME when they wanted to go out to the regional.
Actually, is there any thoughts about the Johor economic zone? Just so we get that out of the way, because as I think it's a given, you want to expand Malaysia, Indonesia. I think your 10-year study is probably all it's kind of all up there, because that's the natural progression of how Singapore business grow, right? But Johor,
today, if you type in Google UOB and Johor Singapore Economic Zone, there are tons of research and tons of involvement that UOB has been involved in. Yes, we are active in promoting that project, and actually a lot of resources is online.
I think Johor is just a new sexy thing because everybody has
That's
coalesced.
a must go.
And that's a must go, huh? So you're gonna open another 30 shop there.
No, you need the right network. I need to know the right people.
Yeah. Can you elaborate a little bit more, like as a business owner?
Frankly speaking, when you talk about Johor, okay, if you relate this to Hong Kong, you're talking Hong Kong and the new territory, what? Hong Kong island is half the size of Singapore. So it's not something that we can say we don't want to go. So it's definitely for us, I think the local retailers, we have to.
Yeah, and I would say these days the consumers that are in Johor, which mostly are Singaporean consumers there, right, it's no longer about cheap. It's fun. It's exciting. There are new experiences, right? So I think that opens up a whole new opportunity for Singaporean businesses to, tap on your capabilities, but also a different environment in terms of the inputs and the numbers, right? To then create new experiences and don't just keep juan here, right? Like we all know inputs in Singapore are tough, but the region opens up that opportunity for all of us. So yeah, definitely explore that.
Maybe to facilitate payment flows because of
He must say
cross-border connection.
Yeah,
a Singapore consumer can make payments using their banking apps. With the QR code in Malaysia.
Yeah, definitely. And what are the kind of businesses that you see that are getting a much easier time expanding regionally? Like just so I get some color from a high level standpoint, if you have some thoughts. Yeah,
there are a lot of successful SME that walk out into the regional space, right? There are a lot of brands that made it overseas. One of the key differentiator, I would say, is that their products serve a particular needs, whether home or overseas markets. I guess my encouragement to a lot of SME owners is that that needs, identifying the gaps and creating a product that serves the needs is very critical whenever they want to go overseas.
Actually, when he mentioned that, like in the case of the Philippines, you remember earlier I mentioned that the business took off during the pandemic. That was a time when most people cannot go out to purchase. Okay, so I think from the technological angle, actually our platform is actually more ahead than what they have locally. So it actually took off from online. Then, in fact, that was a time when we opened our first store of flowers with a cafe in one of the major if you have heard of Ayala Mall, within 3 months back up. Literally within 3 months, because came COVID, you see. So now we actually, in fact, we restarted the F&B business there. I think just about now that we started, but this time around we actually interestingly, we are not in a shopping mall. We're actually in one of within the Metro Manila itself, is in an area where we are allowed both commercial and the residential together. So that's where, and we started to have walk-in also, but the main part of it is also, I think when we got started, is because we are ahead of them online. That helped us took off at a point in time.
Okay, awesome. That's good. Maybe we move on to the next bit, which is essentially we see from the Business Outlook Study that many businesses are looking to invest more digitally, right? Across board on all the different functions, 50% and above, right? And there are certain specific things that people are looking to invest, and I think our listeners would find it interesting to know where are your competitors, looking to invest in the digital front, right? So there are a few things that people are looking at. I think one of it is to automate to ease customer service. I think that's about 62% of respondents in the study have said that. 56% said that they want to improve user-friendly channels for customer interactions. And then 52% say they want to use AI chatbots for real-time interaction. And the most interesting one is this 32% that wants to focus on hyper-personalized service and offers for customers, which I think is correct, right? Everybody in front is a bit slow already, but you still got to do it, right? If you're not there yet, all these automation, all these parts, you have to do it. But the real frontier is in hyper-personalization services, right? which we can go into the discussion later, but just want to get a sense, right? Like, what do you think of this? Are these people investing in the correct places, or like, what's your thoughts?
I feel that a lot of technologies are out there today, and many SME owners, in fact, don't know where to start. Even though they may know where to start, they don't know who they can rely on, which partner, which solution, and of course, costing. Just now we talk about people still need to contain the cost, right? I guess that's where some of the industry leaders could help, especially the banks. Today, when you say come to the bank, we have a program, we call it a AI Ready, UOB AI Ready program. And in fact, what you can do is to talk to someone that know your business a bit better and try to identify the gaps. And thereby try to see, are you ready for solution A, B, or C? I thought that is helpful, and I've seen SME owners benefiting from some of the discussion that we have. So I thought as a start, a lot of SMEs should take the first leap towards some of these transformation journey.
Okay. Is there certain use case examples that you find particularly interesting?
So a live case, we did specific F&B and retail team workshop just very recently, and we asked the customers who attended the so-called workshop what are the key challenges and whatnot. And one of the key challenges is to expand sales, expand the networking. So one of the brainstorm session, we throw out things like live stream. Today we have a lot of live streaming thing, right, for the retail F&B. And straight away, the follow-up session, we bring in some gurus that can teach some of our retail customers and F&B customers to exactly how to do a live stream. So this is one use case that I'm very proud, because I do see customers from not knowing what they need, or they know they need to increase sales, but they don't know how to. And this small little workshop of doing live stream, I feel would go a long way in starting the transformation journey, as I said.
Yeah, still a long way. I mean, when the media game, I have a very good sense across board, all the functions, what are people doing, and I think a lot of the SMEs are still very far, right? But that's a different discussion. Yeah. Joseph, any thoughts on this front? Digitalization, growing the business. You have done quite a bit, so would love to hear your stories.
This digitalization journey is something that there's no going around it. So in fact, earlier back in about 2016, I actually got a partner in fact, he's the chief experience officer because I'm not in that area. So he's the one that handle anything that is to do with digitalization. We actually take on a platform called review.io. But this time around, we are doing it the other way around. We'll go out to ask for feedback 3 hours after it's delivered, knowing that we're going to get whacked. But I just find that when you do it right, actually this journey, in fact, is better because generally customers are reasonable. They look at it, if you can hit, you get 4.7 or 5, you can get a 5, but if you have only 5 review, don't bluff, okay? But if we have, like in our case, several thousand reviews, they don't expect you to be perfect, but they expect you to be responsible. I think that part helped us a fair bit in this journey. So actually, while you can't stop people from buying online, you can do better, but if you are able to communicate. So I think it all helped us a lot.
Okay. But from my understanding of where you guys are, you have developed quite a developed database, to essentially study your customer pool and then label them across board to know like what type of customer they are, what's their value in their business chain, and then how do you kind of personalize the business. Because I think in the study we did talk about 32% wanting hyper personalized service, right? And to me that is the frontier. Everything else is BAU, right? If you cannot get your basics sorted, you will unlikely stay relevant. But this hyper personalized element is actually very complicated, right? And it starts with a clear database that is clean and understands what you're looking for, right? So maybe can you give us a bit more color on that front?
Okay, internally we do. Okay, it's just like the airline. You have economy. Now you got premium economy. You got business class and so on. So at the back end, we do sort database because even if you whether you're going to digitalize or not, the same guy keep calling you. You jolly well pay more attention to him. Okay, so at the moment it's just like when someone order. Okay, the system actually will trigger when the driver is on the move. The moment you finish delivering one order, the system actually will trigger a message to the customer that your order is on the way. Because previously we don't do that. We don't do that. But now I think it's becoming more important. It's just that when you buy something online, even on the on the way to your, they want to know, now it's roughly when am I going to pick up the phone to call my girlfriend? Do you like the flowers? That kind of thing. I think all these experience help us in retaining the customers.
Okay, and your fulfillment?
100 delivery on Valentine's Day, you got more than 1,000 delivery. It's basically, in fact, it's outsourced, but the third party actually have a team deployed together with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair. Yeah. And anything on this front?
I think where Nets come in is we use some of these AI tools to give our merchants data insights. Maybe I can give an example. Because as a scheme, we would know the spending habits of individuals. Not necessarily to the person itself, but at least we can paint a profile of this individual being a family of kids or a tertiary student. So we got to know 2 merchants. One is a departmental store, mainly Gen X, and one is a bubble tea, mainly millennial. Interestingly, we got to know of their needs. Of course, the Gen X, the departmental store wanted to increase their millennial shoppers, and the bubble tea store or merchant is going to introduce hot drinks, and they want to tap on Gen X customers. We put the 2 of them together with our data insights to drive a cross collaboration. I'm happy to report that actually double-digit growth in terms of the sales.
So how do I grow my business to a level that you will help me at this level? Like what is the kind of level that we need to get such that we can partner with your team at such a sophisticated level?
Yeah. So I think when we first trialed it, of course, we were reaching the more established merchants.
Of course.
And now increasingly we are looking at maybe giving a simple report to start with, right? And over time, because it's also dependent on the merchants and how, I think in terms of from a team, whether they have enough resources to really tap into this.
Okay. So any thoughts on some of this AI thing, right? Since we talk a little bit, bits and pieces, I just want to kind of open up the floor on like, what are some of these AI tools, that you think people should look at? They inevitably have to do it. And it's already quite vastly adopted other than GPT. I mean, all those things, people already do it, right? So just want to get a sense, like, do you guys have some thoughts, If it's not up your domain, don't need to 强求, but I just want to see whether anybody has some thoughts on this category.
My thought is that do not adopt for the sake of adopting. I think it's very important because it's like the most sexy word now in town. Everybody's talking about AI. One of the interesting part about my business is, in fact, during Valentine's Day period, when there's, in a way, respond using the phone, your phone you don't even have a chance to pick up. But that's where the chats come in very handy, actually. So I think it's important that business know when to apply, based on the situation.
I would like to give a comment from a rather different angle. In fact, a lot of SMEs, after embarking some form of transformation journey, thereafter, one of the common feedback is that my existing staff couldn't handle the projects. Then how to educate, train, upskill, become an issue. Of course, the easiest way is to fire this group of people, hire a group of young and techie guy. But in real world, it won't happen, right?
Yeah.
We still
It's a competition for talent.
Yeah. So competition for talent
And there's
is
a lot of 感情 amongst the
yes. Just
small
now you
businesses.
talk about
Yes.
SME. We tend to take care of our people a bit more.
There is that.
That's the reality. So but I guess on the flip side, the government and some of the ecosystem partner do have this training so-called modules or courses available. So I thought that it goes some way in terms of solving some of these talent gap issues.
Okay. I think that is very fair lah. Maybe in closing the discussion right there, outside of this study, right? The study is the study. You should go and check it out and look at some of the insights that is discussed within the UOB Business Outlook Study. But in the context of a lot of the SMEs, especially in the F&B retail space, right? Outside of digitalization and all this, right? Do you have some tips and ideas on like how to, continue to thrive from a business standpoint? Because ultimately it's all about cost. Ultimately it's all about raising revenue and all that, right? So outside of all the sexy things that everyone wants, what are some closing ideas that you have that you think works based on whoever you've been chatting with that you want the audience to get a piece of?
I think for me, the word maybe people use is innovate. But I think for SME, very often you need to continue to reinvent the business. Actually, very much now, which is things are just very fluid. It's changing very quickly. So competitions is, overnight. It's just see why, so it becomes so competitive. So I think it's very important to have this mindset of always stay nimble and always have the mindset of innovating. That's very important. But innovating need not be something to do with technology. We are talking about it means maybe creative. In our case, is just now you mentioned about what the bank is trying to help in live streaming. It crossed my mind. In fact, just last week I was at one of the polytechnic, attended one of these Catalyst 360. Okay, they even have the students. They are willing to. The studio is there. The equipment is all there. They just want the SME to get involved. Okay, I was just thinking because for me, how are you going to go live streaming and start selling? Because people don't buy flower unless there's an occasion. I won't buy flower just because you are having live streaming. So on that part, we have to be on our own to come up to create new ideas. It's just like I think in the last year or so, there are people that like to do themselves. Because during the pandemic, people start to planting, start to be interested in planting, start to be interested in packing things themselves, and then posting on the social media. See, I'm able to do this. So I think it's from there that we need to change according to the consumer behavior. So when I talk about innovation, I'm talking about things like this, where you know what's the demand, and then in some cases, because of social media these days, not like before, you don't try to change the consumer behavior. Now you can influence the consumer behavior because of social media. I think that's very important.
Fair. Paul, any last things to share?
To me, start small, start now. There are a lot of info out there. Sometimes SME owners a bit confused. I guess that's where the ecosystem players like us come and provide some guidance. I always tell my team, even though a lot of SMEs see banks sometimes as a vendor, but I would like to see banks as an ecosystem because my business is in the SME banking, and if they prosper, I prosper.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. So we are in a situation whereby we need to win-win, right? Hence, there are a lot of resources out there. I do want to invite a lot of SMEs to connect with us, and we shall prosper together.
Yeah. And you'll be more than happy to fund their growth.
Yes.
Right? You know?
We have been funding, we
Yeah.
will fund more.
Exactly, right? That's the whole idea, right? Like I think for a lot of the, I don't know if it's still the case, but there are some businesses that are very happy just being like debt neutral, right? They want everything just on transactions. But come on, you want to grow the business, you want to get to the next level, loans, credit, a lot of these things that the bank will power you to take to the next level. That's why you're always, cheer on all these businesses. Of course, because it's tied together. Same with the payment provider. You guys form the platform. If the entrepreneur doesn't run, you don't benefit also. So I think that's the thinking that needs to change, right, in the landscape. Yeah. Any last things?
So exactly that point, right? I think, if I may have a last word, is really to leverage on the ecosystem, right? Whether be it UOB Bismart or Nets as a payment provider, I think we do have a wealth of information. Leverage on that data insights that we have, and to really help you to target, certain segments that you want to grow a business. And we are increasingly connecting more cross-border payments to bring you more traffic, to bring you more tourists.
So with that, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. Thanks for sharing. And we hope you had a great episode. Today's episode is in partnership with UOB. We hope that you find today's episode interesting and insightful. And specifically, please go and check out the study, UOB Business Outlook. There's been a lot of information and you can get the sense of like, what are other people doing so that you know how to position your business. So link in the description box below. With that, thank you for your time. We'll see you next week at the Business Show. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.